when we live with the belief in separate existence, it is natural for the fear to arise because we have identified with something limited. We identify ourselves with this limited body which is aging. And then we feel that, we must accumulate more and more, we must fulfill all our desires because the clock is ticking, and that one day we may not be there. So, might as well enjoy this life and make the most out of it. And while I do say that one should fully enjoy what moment brings, enjoy each and every moment of life. But the thing is that when you have identified with the limited and with fear in your heart, it will never be possible for you to fully enjoy this life. Because if you are operating from a place of fear, from a place of conflict, confusion, then all your actions become unconscious. So, limited thinking breeds limited action. And we come across situation in life where we experience turbulence in relationships. And life is all about relationships. So, what happens is that a lot of anger gets repressed. The anger gets stored in the body. When I say body, I mean I include the deep recesses of the mind as well. Not just consciously, but it goes beyond. And all of that anger sometimes creates different type of symptoms in the body. Sometimes there is unexplained chronic pain. And people have seen this, that when they speak to psychotherapists or professionals, and when they touch upon that aspect of their life, where the hurt was caused, then all of a sudden they immediately feel a relief in the body. And that is one way grief becomes our friend. Rumi said that grief can be the garden of compassion. Because a lot of repressed anger actually comes out as grief. Grief is a beautiful thing. I'm talking about grief which arises naturally from within. I'm not talking about the mourning, the incessant mourning which happens in such a manner that one keeps repeating the same things, that why me, why did this happen to me, that happened to me, the feeling of victimization. I'm not talking about that. The grief, the feeling, the pure feeling, where maybe you miss a loved one who's passed on. It is natural for the grief to arise. There may be some trapped anger within. Why did you leave me? Why did you go? So, grief is the outlet. But the problem is that we fight that tendency, we don't allow it to come up. And that sort of forms an obstruction in the energetic flow of the body. It closes the heart. The more anger and resentment we feel towards the other, the more it closes our heart. And heart is the place of pure unconditional love. So Rumi says, and I will read his quote, he says, if you keep your heart open through everything, your pain can become your greatest ally in your life's search for love and wisdom. So let it flow, let it come out. And you see, it is a form of release. Because just by verbalizing a sensation sometimes is not enough. Sometimes things have to have some sort of natural outlet. In that context, we don't even resist the anger. But again, it has to be the natural anger, not the anger which is born out of a fear, a forced anger. There is a bit of subtleness to that natural anger, which is much different from the aggressive, forced anger. And once you recognize your true nature, which is the love, the pure love, then you understand even where the other person is coming from. So you don't take their hurt, their comments personally. It may sting in the moment. When someone says nasty, it may sting in the moment, but it will never create feelings of deep resentment or hatred towards the other person. Because deep down, you know, you realize that the consciousness that powers this mind body organism, or what you call as me, is the same as what powers the other. The recognition of that common essence, that God principle within the other, that closes the gap, the separation between the me and the other. So even when people try to hurt you, and people do that, there are lots of wounded people who will do that. Either they will do it actively or they will do it passively. And I know it is the passive ones which are most tricky to deal with. But you see, it is not that you have to tolerate that from them. You can surely block anybody who disrupts your peace. But there is no point keeping any hatred or resentment towards that person. Because if you know their full story, you will see how they are entangled in their own web of thinking. And I believe at some point, even we were in that same situation. And I'm sure if you have come across this channel and you have watched a couple of my videos, you are someone who has struggled with emotional issues in the past. So you give them the freedom and let them be the way they are. And you also operate with that same sense. You operate the way God has created you. Again, it is not about tolerating bad behavior from people or allowing people to walk over you. It is simply the fact that you stop questioning as to why people are the way they are. You simply accept that this is the way they are, and this is the evolution of their consciousness, and it is their destiny to be this way. With that acceptance, a lot of conflict gets eliminated. Because then one revels in the pure feeling of being, love that we are. And it is understood that this is all about love. All the pain and suffering that we go through in life is all about love. But that love has to be seen directly. That love is not the filtered love, the conditioned love that we experience in living. It is the pure love. And pure love does not exclude anything, it is all inclusive. It includes all the suffering, all the pain, all the sorrows, everything. So you tend to become more tender, more compassionate towards others. There are people who sometimes leave mean comments on my channel, on this channel. But all that arises from my side towards them is compassion, because I can sense all the passive aggression, all trying to demean or trying to pull the other person down, all those petty animalistic things. I understand that because I had been like that in the past. So I understand and I accept that this is what they are at this moment. It is not that I will reply to them or try to convince them or try to correct them. But I'm sure if they have listened to the message, then it is already a part of their system now. And at some point, when it is the will of God, they will realize the value of it. And then the flowering of consciousness will happen within them as well.